Greetings, esteemed viewers. Today we are honored to have a renowned guest, Sergey Mavrodi. To be honest, I'm uncertain about the best way to introduce him.
Because the genius.
A con artist and a fairy, let's say.
How do you perceive yourself in a professional context or capacity?
As for my profession, it's hard to say. I don't have a profession right now. I'm actually unemployed. No, now I am working. At my own personal thousand, so to speak, in terms of my professional capacity. I am a messiah, changing the world. What kind of profession is that? It is what it is. And as for nationality, Jewish? No, I do not possess even a drop of Jewish blood. I am half Russian, on my paternal side, half Ukrainian and half Greek. However, interestingly, Mavrodi, by the way, translates from Greek as black or dark. I don't have any Jewish blood. I usually don't focus much on nationality.
I am sure that half of Russia's population considers you Jewish.
No, actually, my mother is originally from VWD herself, specifically originating from the region of Vladimir, which is located in Ukraine.
Can our lineage really produce people like that?
Listen, what exactly are you implying? Our blood has the capability to produce anything. Why is there this belittling of Russians?
Although individuals discuss terrorists, a thought recently occurred to me. Terrorists. Chechen terrorists. However, everyone seems to have forgotten, in fact, the early 20th century. The most formidable terrorists were Russians, the Narodnaya Volya and so forth. They were tearing things apart. So if Russian terrorists were to wake up, all those from the Caucasus would just take a break. We Russians have it in our blood to tear and explode, don't we? Well, I'm on a different topic, but still, people think terrorists are for some... Terrorism is widespread, but Russians can't be terrorists, as if they blew up the Tsar there.
Roots, yes, Russians, Narodniks, sure there, Kalyev, whom I don't fully remember.
Sergey Petrovich, could you possibly elaborate on what motivates you in your ambitious endeavor of constructing, if I may say so, pyramids? Are you perhaps an expert in the specialized field of pyramid construction, possibly even holding an official certification? What exactly inspires you in this particular pursuit?
Prof.
No, I truly change people. I change society. The pyramid is just a tool for this goal. In other words, people themselves change within the MMM system. They become kinder, more caring, surprisingly.
First, there's more money, then less money.
No, they initially come for the money. Everyone comes for the money. But everyone absolutely notes that. By participating in the system, people change for the better. This is an amazing fact, but it is a fact. So, the pyramid is just a tool. That's how I perceive it.
Nevertheless, you possess an extraordinary capability to draw individuals towards you, indicating that they have confidence in you. How would you describe this remarkable ability?
I see you standing right here, right in front of me.
You appear, at your core, like a rural gentleman dressed in rather inexpensive sweatpants and a budget-friendly t-shirt. To be honest, I might contemplate giving you 100 rubles.
You haven't talked with me yet. I'll charm you and you'll give in eventually.
It's throughout the process of communication that charm, so to speak, is not effectively conveyed.
Well, what can you do? Why do they believe? Because I have concrete actions behind me. That's why they believe. Everyone remembers the year 1994. In half a year, 15 million participants. By the way, now in MMM, it's 20. 15 million participants, a third of the country's budget. Everyone remembers this. And everyone now knows perfectly well that MMM was dismantled in 1994. All those narratives that the pyramid scheme collapsed are merely tales and utter nonsense, in my criminal testimony.
An entrepreneur must thoroughly consider potential risks, including those that are rehabilitative in nature. Even if these pyramid schemes were dismantled by the government, that risk should have been anticipated and not disregarded. It remains the entrepreneur's responsibility, if we are discussing business standards, you understand.
You know, I built a ship, let's say. I often use this example. Everyone sailed on it, enjoyed themselves, had fun. Then a submarine nearby fired a torpedo just like that and sank the ship. And who is to blame? You because you built the ship, or is it the submarine captain?
Probably the essence of the pyramid is to blame because pyramids eventually collapse, you know.
No, I don't know. Everyone knows except me. I don't understand why it should collapse. For example, how does the process work? I'm specifically talking about MMM 2011. This is a pure pyramid scheme. It's clearly stated on the website. It's also clear, open, and honest. It's a pyramid, you're risking everything, and you could lose yourself.
So are you openly admitting that it's a pyramid?
It's clearly written on the website in bright red on a yellow background, in big bold letters.
It showed that you always used to say, no, it's not a pyramid.
This is a pyramid.
So does it eventually come to an end?
The following is written. This is a pyramid scheme. You are risking everything. You can lose it all. Even if you follow all the rules, they still might not pay you anything. Just like that, without any explanations. It's all written down.
It's like a casino. Do you get that you're stepping into a casino?
No, it's not a casino. I'm just honestly warning you about everything. But, for example, banks. Pardon me. They guarantee something. And what do they guarantee? That a bank will never go bankrupt?
The government insures up to 700K.
And from what exactly?
No precedents for payouts yet.
First, 700,000 is still seen as oil. Second, where does the government get the money to pay? It uses funds from other people's pockets, meaning some contribute for others, which is normal.
Banks offer 12% annually, do they not?
20 to 30% monthly, 85. Nevertheless, over the entire year, everyone receives their payment, and there isn't a single victim. That's simply a fact.
Of course, for the initial duration.
20 million already. What initial period?
Nearly for CS, right?
No, according to its own measure. And minus 20 minutes.
Toxic, approximately 250,000 inquiries for M&M are received each and every month, totaling 250,000.
You see, we don't have much. For example, 5 to 6 people write to me on Twitter every day about something related to MAU or MNM, which statistically shows that it's real.
No, we're protecting that savings account now.
These are already numerous individuals who are attempting to obstruct new participants.
On the other hand, firstly, if I were going to mislead, I would downplay the number of participants because everyone is scared that saturation is already too high. I would, on the contrary, say that there are still few, and everything is ahead.
Do you get that the number of gullible folks here is limited? Sure.
That's all.
Greed is a dominant force. What truly governs the world? Greed and the pursuit of desires. Correct me if I'm wrong. And he works for greed. And a person is greedy. If he gets it once, he will come back. He will come back and always come back.
What greed? What greed? People are involved. Do you know what's happening in the country right now?
Why do they bring money? Because of greed?
Are you aware of the current situation in the country at this moment? I'm composing such distressing letters expressing that I receive 100 rubles, $100 in pension after dedicating my entire life to work, yet my rent amounts to $200. How am I expected to survive? I truly don't know. If it weren't for my mom, I would have starved to death. I mean, people are being helped. They are just surviving. What greed, really?
Well, happiness can help everywhere, but such happiness for people, on the contrary, will happen at their own expense.
Let's consider this logically. At present, the pyramid scheme is progressing quite successfully, intensively and so forth. Why do certain individuals still refrain from joining the pyramid? Simply because they perceive it as a scam, a fraudulent scheme, where someone might not receive something and so on, as time passes. As the pyramid scheme advances further, for instance, if an acquaintance of yours receives a significant amount of money and subsequently purchases a new car, then quite naturally you will find it challenging to resist becoming a participant. Therefore, it is quite evident that as time progresses, the number of new individuals joining will consistently increase and expand.
So it is not merely greed?
It's not greed, it's wanting to live better. It's a normal desire for anyone.
There are scales, right? Everything always depends on greed and fear. Yes, in the stock market, in this one, in another, in all markets. Greed, fear. And sooner or later, fear overcomes greed. And individuals hasten to sell. Regardless of how much you wish to avoid it, there inevitably arrives a moment in any marketplace. In the petroleum market, in the precious metals market, in the equities market, in the market for your tickets, and Mavro.
I issue my own form of currency in the region, much like the Federal Reserve does.
Soon greed will win anyway.
What fear? Do you think everyone holds on for years? What about a person? Invested for a month, withdrew, got the return, then reinvested.
Technology. It is challenging because you find yourself in an unregulated zone online, where web mining is feasible and so forth. However, can we delve into more detail? You skillfully deceived everyone. Regulators, you mean?
Their system operates in the following manner. By becoming a part of the system, you acquire Mavro. It is essentially a currency that I effectively issue as my personal currency. It increases at rates ranging from 20 to 75% each month. I set the price myself twice a week. That's how it is in the auto column. At any moment you can buy, and at any moment you can sell. There's no need to wait.
Is a tech impact planned?
Organized like this. Participants split into tens, hundreds, thousands, like Genghis Khan's armies. Leading a group of 10 is a leader of 10, for 100, a leader of 100, and for 1,000, a leader of 1,000. We join, and you become part of a group of 10. The group of 10 has its own account. This is the basic unit that has an account. The group of 100 does not have an account. Centurions and chiliarchs simply manage the decurions. The decurion has their own account. When you join a decuria, you transfer money to the decurion. They manage the unit's account.
How do you transfer? Usually by address transfer. Where to?
How and where exactly he establishes an account at the bank. In every bank, you have it available right there,
Do you have accounts in every bank?
everywhere. The leader opens an account in any bank he likes.
But we don't open checking accounts, so we don't have individuals. We don't open them. Well, you don't open them.
They open at any bank. You join, send money to him. You might not even send.
So your money is diversified, it's not all in one place?
No, it is not.
Isn't it on Warszawskie Way?
Subsequently, they arrived and removed everything. Nothing of that nature. Consequently, since it's not feasible to close them, millions of those very accounts must be terminated. However, that's insufficient. Main point. You are transferring money without any guarantees, promises, or obligations. You are not transferring because you are owed something. You are openly told that you might not get paid anything. So there are no guarantees or promises, because if there were, it would already be illegal banking activities and so on. But soon there are no guarantees or promises. One person just transfers to another. It can't be prohibited.
Well, yes, using the word presumably, to get...
Nothing speculative, not even that. He's just saying everything's paid up to that point. They might pay you, he might pay, or maybe not.
Certainly, well, observe, there exists this particular type of massage, and I discovered on the website today that it genuinely assists those who are disadvantaged, enabling them to earn income through the system. They aren't currently earning. Well, yes, they are earning at the moment. But if they arrive now and contribute the final portion, those $100 he will contribute, which he lacks for the apartment.
And so what?
Well, without the guarantee, his apartment loses $100.
No, first of all, everything is written on the website. Everything is clear. A reasonable and sound-minded person who is fully capable makes decisions on their own. Therefore, if they do this, they understand what it's about. No one is trying to deceive or mislead them. Therefore, it is his legitimate right. Secondly, I still do not comprehend why you consistently maintain the stance that it will inevitably collapse and individuals will endure hardship. Furthermore, I have not heard a single clear and concise argument yet as to why it should inevitably collapse. I'll repeat, you measure it.
It will collapse because there are limits to building pyramids, and soon it will involve others.
If the world gets involved, it will take time. If the world gets involved, then the money amount.
If the pyramid involves the whole world, then firstly it will just close off, and money won't leave it at all. Because if you took money from the pyramid and invested it, bought yourself a palace for $1 billion, then the seller of the palace is also in the pyramid, and he will immediately return them. So the system will close. That's the first thing. Secondly, over time the Mavro will simply replace the dollar, because if all participants are involved, then why would you, as participants, convert Mavro to dollars and then back to Mavro? You would just exchange Mavro among yourselves, and that's it.
Sergey Pavlovich, what ultimately drives your motivation? Is it to influence and shape the destinies of millions of people?
But if it's to help people, then why should I naturally step aside?
This is designed to aid individuals. You deny people the chance to work, to produce something significant, and you instruct them to merely bury 5 gold coins in the ground, and a money tree will miraculously sprout for them, so that they do not have to work, do not have to do anything, and just receive money.
Well, first and foremost, it's indeed accurate what you're expressing, that yes, an individual ought to work, but they should engage in labor within a just society. The society is profoundly unjust. For whom should they toil? The oligarchs? Who are people working for now? Like, why is it that some have billions while others have nothing? Do you really mean to say that people should work for these Abramoviches? They probably worked very hard there. And tell that to the people who worked their whole lives and received a $100 pension and were thrown out like trash. Those are the realities. You see, whether you like it or not, these are the realities. Secondly, it's a term, it's a thesis about who will work. Society will simply be different. Right now, if everyone had enough money, people work for money. This is completely immoral. It is essentially economic slavery. Federation of fascism. Sure, you could say that. If there were no money, or if everyone had enough, then other factors would matter, like respect. For example, if you know something others don't. It's funny to think about now. It will be a different world. It's hard to say exactly what it will be like, but it will be different.
What's your question? It is quite evident that you have skillfully outmaneuvered the Russian authorities in financial matters, having discovered various loopholes within the legal framework and so forth. It is not particularly challenging to accomplish. We are aware that Russia, so to speak, possesses laws riddled with numerous gaps, allowing you to do practically anything you desire. Additionally, you reference the world. I am quite concerned about this particular question. How were you able to manage, or were you successful in constructing this pyramid scheme there, given that the legislation in that region has been refined over centuries, and they possess extremely robust legal regulations along with very strong financial oversight? Surely they would not permit MMM billboards to be displayed prominently in the heart of New York City. Well, in comparison to their legislation and ours, how is it there?
Well, first of all,
I don't know. Maybe it's not relevant, but I had a pyramid scheme in 1994, then I was on the run for 6 years. During that time, I created an online pyramid scheme, whether in cycling or not, stock generation, which involved tens of millions from all over the world, mainly from the USA and the States. It was established as a gambling game on one of the Caribbean islands. There was an official gaming license. However, when issues began because 3 individuals out of those millions lodged complaints, everything was progressing too swiftly and there were delays with the payouts. 3 individuals stepped forward who lodged a complaint. Subsequently, the United States Securities and Exchange Commission intervened and brought an end to all operations, leading to a legal proceeding in Boston, during which we ultimately did not incur any loss.
Still, it's more difficult to run the state there than here.
It is not more complicated. All those regulations imply that, in actuality, all American laws are essentially the same. I have read them. There is even a prohibition on financial pyramid schemes. However, there is a definition of what constitutes a financial pyramid. Any definition of a financial pyramid includes promises. Therefore, as long as there are no promises, you do not fall under the law. It's impossible to prohibit. It's just the exchange of money between people. How can you prohibit that? It's undermining the foundation, undermining private property.
Well, you are essentially undermining the entire banking system because, for instance, our bank, Tinkoff, is presently in the process of approving a billboard advertisement for deposits, and 11% is considered modest by your standards. They've been driving us absolutely insane. The Federal Anti-Monopoly Service, the central bank, for every minor phrase, we have to specify this in small print, that in large print, and so forth. We've been, as Oleg can confirm, spending an entire month approving every single letter, number, disclaimer, and so on. And you completely and without any conditions display a 75 alongside it, and you do not fall under any regulations or any FAS. So you're undermining because I'm attempting to somehow explain to individuals to bring it. For goodness sake, at 11.5, I'm being harassed by all the regulators. 5 banks regulate us, and you effortlessly put up an MMM poster next to it. Well, where else is there a country like this, the land of eternally green tomatoes? Only in Russia do we have such a ridiculous country.
First of all, our interests at this stage actually coincide because your money is kept in banks. Observe, I am experiencing an apocalypse over here, and perhaps I am not perceiving certain grapes entirely adequately, but those are my issues. Nevertheless, at this phase, the money is securely kept in banks. So what will transpire in the subsequent phase, the apocalypse, we shall see. For the time being, in this initial stage, our objectives completely align, if you would be so kind.
Would you agree that the Western financial system continues to be more stringent and rigorous in terms of regulatory oversight and control mechanisms when compared to Russia, or would you disagree with that perspective?
Here's Madoff. For decades, he was a thorn in the side of this banking system. There were a lot of audits.
The higher the interest rate, the faster the pyramid is built and collapses.
Чем больше процент, тем быстрее пирамида строится и рушится. Вы же знаете, как математик. Вы же математик?
What did you study? And in your film, as far as I remember, there was a young guy from the Physics and Technology Institute. I was curious, was that guy really from the Physics and Technology Institute? That's just stories. We have a few young guys from the Physics and Technology Institute working at the bank, creating the tariff plans and all our products. I even wondered, could it be that we coincided with Mavrodi himself? Actually, speaking about this movie, by the way, the actor played a similar role for some reason. I forgot the last name. Serebryakov. He played well.
He tends to praise everyone. I have not watched the movie.
I believe he is quite excessively thin indeed. However, overall, he does fit the type, as I perceive it. But truly, did his wife actually jump off? Were there such tragic events?
No, see? No, it's fiction about the wife.
It's fiction about the wife. Anya Mikhalkova, poor thing. And the neighbor, by the way, Praslana lives in the house next to mine. Anya was thrown off Mikhalkova from the roof at 26 Varshavskaya. The child was kidnapped. Didn't we steal?
I don't discuss private matters.
On personal matters, I don't discuss personal issues. We saw that it was Berezovsky, but if it's Gava's bank, that guy like Berezovsky, who were you dealing with there? Did you really have a conflict with Boris Abramovich there?
Do not provide them at all, as my adversary was the government.
And he tried to sort things out, like on a general level. Berezovsky tried to sort things out with you and with the state.
The situation was like this.
Now, with Berezovsky being chased, they're pushing him there.
They just pushed him in like that. You see, they wrote about why I didn't watch the movie, why I didn't like it.
Because, by the way, the movie is excellent. I really liked it as a film. I was like, yeah, what about it? And here I was just now. You know, they had been showing it on Channel 1 for a week, and I was in Europe, so things were different. I thought, oh, we're going to chat with Pantelake. Let me take a look. And it captivated me. No, the movie is fantastic.
I got the book and read it. Because the core essence is effectively conveyed there. The spirit of the events from the book is well preserved. That's precisely what saves everything. Either authored it,
Or perhaps I authored it. When the pyramid eventually collapses, will you experience any sorrow for the individuals involved?
it won't be destroyed. The Bible says 42 months. There's time. By the way, there is a very interesting phrase about the apocalypse in the Bible.
I wouldn't destroy it, but would you feel sorry for the people?
It won't be destroyed. What do you mean by sorry? Let's talk like this then.
I would genuinely feel remorseful for individuals if I contributed to their situation. However,
He wanted to save the world.
took the money.
The past tense is wrong.
I continue to desire it at this moment. Everything is currently in full bloom, therefore using the past tense is entirely unsuitable.
It is going to work out.
Are you not cognizant of the fact that it seems as though you are simply endeavoring to generate revenue? Do you not think that those individuals in your vicinity who seek to gain from your preoccupation are taking advantage of you? Let's propose a commitment to an idea that is not completely human in nature.
Naturally, this is likely to occur. All living individuals, especially those who are in close proximity, might attempt to gain something from it, yet it doesn't alter anything.
In addition to that, they will be selling your Mavrodi.
Cash out, leaving nothing for others.
Пирамида, они просто будут продавать ваши маврики и выводить кэш, а остальное ничего не остается.
That won't happen, you can't withdraw there. Once again, the money is distributed across millions of accounts. It's impossible to withdraw it all at once. There isn't a single account from which you can take and withdraw the money. They are distributed across millions of accounts of tens, so you can't withdraw them from there at all. Do you understand that?
It is distributed in such a way that it is not possible to withdraw everything at once. But each individual is only able to withdraw their own personal funds.
The account of a group of 10 can be withdrawn. No, are you talking about stealing money? Only a group leader can take the money from the group of 10. Nothing else can be taken. It's impossible to steal from the whole system. Somehow take it out, steal. No, it's impossible.
And a question from Twitter, if I may, they are asking you. There's Charles Ponzi, who is kind of famously self-proclaimed, Bernard Madoff and Sergey Mavrodi. Who is cooler among them?
Certainly, I am completely ready. What is occurring?
How much did he collect from the Ponzi scheme? Who?
This Ponzi scheme, he successfully managed to collect a relatively modest sum. I believe it was approximately around $40,000.
Are you still trying to settle with the defrauded investors of the first MMM?
I've already mentioned this, that payments were made. So I'm saying that I will settle up, although technically I owe nothing. Let me emphasize that again. I got what was mine and I've served my time. Technically, I owe nothing to anyone. I'm starting all these payments myself.
That's how it went. Think about it. I had my own parade. So what was the official charge?
Well, when I was detained back in the year 1994, it was primarily due to tax evasion. And they also permitted fraud charges during that period. And now, there are numerous charges, including fraud. Now it's completely finished.
What was the amount you earned?
4.5 years.
And how long did you serve?
4.5. In the special block in the death row cell. Where is that? In Moscow? Inside Matroskaya Tishina, there's another area. It's called the special block. A prison within a prison.
Aren't they frightened of it? You mentioned that it is as if the prison educates you. After enduring 4.5 years, you essentially still objectively risk repeating some kind of fate, one way or another. Ideally, for what reason does the state establish prisons? To educate an individual in such a manner that they have no desire to return there. That is the rationale of the state. To strip someone of their liberty so that they endure such adversity that they are unable to return. As a person who served 2 years in the military in the Far East, I comprehend, I recall, I awaken at night, dreaming of the army, waking up drenched in sweat. And if you were instructed at this moment to enlist in the military, would your personal experience of enduring 4.5 years of confinement in prison not deter you?
An individual ought not to harbor fear of anything. Therefore, no. I genuinely believe that I am correct. I am compelled to undertake this. And absolutely nothing will stop me. No threats, no matter where they come from. I will still do what I have to do.
At this moment, no, it does not.
At this moment, no. However, generally speaking, I sincerely hope that the state will refrain from posing any threats to me, because in reality, MMM is socially advantageous as it helps to alleviate social tension. In other words, individuals are happy and content, they are not in a protest mood, and they are at home with their families. Consequently, I believe the state is gradually coming to this realization. And right now, at least, there is no struggle against MMM.
Who will you be casting your vote for in the future? Please share. Who do you have a preference for?
For the Bolsheviks or the Communists, I'm for the internationals. I won't be communizing for anyone.
But alas, it turns out that if you are so fanatically devoted to your idea, it is called fanaticism. We have seen in history people who were fanatically devoted to someone's idea. For example, Hitler. He didn't do anything good, although in principle he had his own idea and he believed in God and so on. However, he ultimately revealed himself to be a demolisher, even though he operated within the boundaries of his own concept.
Jesus was destructive too. He said, I have not come to bring peace, but a sword. This means that the new is always built on the ruins of the old. Such terms are deliberately chosen, these derogatory ones like obsession or something like that. You can simply consider it or use other terms that I just believe I am right and act according to my convictions.
You are convinced you are correct, but an individual ought to entertain doubts if they are justified. Someone who is perpetually certain of their infallibility, in my opinion, is merely fixated and irrational.
I'm not always sure. Naturally, I have doubts too, but I believe that overall I'm right. So, do you think a person shouldn't do anything at all if they're doubting? One should harbor doubts only. It is important to hesitate when selecting a goal. Once the goal has been chosen, one must simply proceed to act.
And when you inspire millions of individuals to take some action, indeed millions, it no longer merely concerns you personally, it also involves society as a whole.
Certainly, it has undeniably evolved into a societal phenomenon, quite naturally and completely. Since, from my perspective, it represents the truth, they likely perceive where the truth truly resides. A contented individual, I am unsure, finds it challenging to respond.
So, is it merely a perception that you lack financial resources, or do you genuinely not possess any? Because ideally, you ought to be valued at several $billion, logically speaking, from that life and this one.
You know, I just have... How much?
Got any money?
None. It's all noted.
Well, we know what's documented, but what about what's not documented? Where does that go?
No, I have no life.
Somewhere in Penzaria?
No. Well, at the very least, there was indeed a criminal case, and in the comprehensive conclusion, it was stated quite explicitly that the funds were utilized solely for the office, its maintenance, salary disbursements, and so forth. Therefore, I didn't expend anything. Even back in 1994, when I had access to unlimited resources, I didn't purchase anything at all. I didn't possess anything. I lived in the same apartment where I live now. I didn't acquire anything at all. Moreover, the apartment is state-owned, otherwise they would have taken it from me. It's not privatized. So the office I inherited from my parents. It's neither good nor bad really that I'm so unmaterialistic. I just have modest needs, that's all. If I had more needs, it wouldn't be significant either.
Are you fond of beautiful women?
Certainly, I do appreciate beautiful women. Who wouldn't appreciate women?
Do you need to spend on a beautiful woman?
Well, that's fine with women. Is there enough for conversational amounts? Why? Well, I just don't like these private conversations.
Incidentally, there was a question. Did you happen to enter into matrimony a second or even a third time?
No, I divorced in prison and never remarried.
What is the underlying reason that whenever I have the opportunity to observe your speeches to the congregation, you consistently behave in such a manner?
I try not to do it here even though you brought me. Is it in Chernomyrnoye or something?
Russia's home?
No, you are aware. I automatically accept this gesture entirely. Absolutely, you just reminded me. I was simply attempting to return here.
I'm sorry, of course, but what you're saying is complete nonsense. Horsepower. I listened to all your statements today.
Listen, you do not comprehend one crucial aspect. There are underlying matters behind all of this. It should not be dismissed as mere nonsense. It should be evaluated to understand why it is not nonsense. If it seems like nonsense to you, then you are mistaken in some way. If I were just talking and there were no MMM or 20 million participants, then it could be called nonsense. But since there are 20 million participants behind this, it is not nonsense. You should understand why it is not nonsense.
However, is there not a context behind your situation, correct? The context is that all of your pyramids are experiencing collapse. What reason is there for this particular pyramid to suddenly remain stable? There is no logical reasoning in that. Understood?
I need to explain. Give at least one reason why it should collapse. That's the first thing. Second, all the pyramids before this were destroyed by the authorities. The first pyramid by the Russians, the second by the Americans. But now they won't be able to destroy it, and now there will be some new ones. Authorization is determined by the individual accounts. There is no legal entity, no physical office, absolutely nothing tangible. You cannot destroy what does not exist in reality.
Have you ever contemplated the possibility that you might be mistaken in your viewpoints?
In what specifically?
In what you're saying, in every aspect or just a part? No, in what won't fall apart. You mention, do you think you might be mistaken? Could you be wrong?
Sure, but give me a reason.
Well, mathematics proves that a pyramid will eventually gather all the money in the world, right? From those we are currently calling
First of all, it's clear that the pyramid will collect all the money in the world. As I already mentioned, it will close off when money stops coming out of it, firstly. Secondly, Mavra will become a currency. Additionally, the pyramid is a living organism where all these basic math problems from Perelman's first class don't work at all. There is another significant psychological aspect to consider.
Perelman was my neighbor.
The pyramid is key only in participants' behavior. The dollar shows this well.
For example, regarding progression, there is a very important purely psychological aspect here, the behavior of investors. The pyramid is not critically affected by the amount of debt. The behavior of participants is essential for maintaining a pyramid scheme. The dollar serves as an excellent illustration of this. By effectively utilizing psychological components, one can manage the inflow and outflow streams with success.
Look, your followers always use the dollar as an example. There are two big differences with the dollar. The Federal Reserve System, which also, in principle, is
in proximity to the governmental structure, there exists the authority to replicate dollars. However, you do not possess the authority to replicate rubles. Mavro is not recognized in retail establishments, whereas dollars are indeed accepted in stores. That is the question at hand. Your followers are persistently spamming across all accounts, including our confidential business information and my personal details, resulting in spam being omnipresent. As a leader, I must say that Muikin is performing exceptionally well, you know.
Incidentally, we might consider the possibility of hiring someone for our financial institution. It's indeed costly, but why not concentrate on the positive aspects? Let's allocate $2,000 monthly from our budget, but the question remains, who would that individual be?
Will you be handling the quantities?
You are all quite content as it currently stands. Additionally,
You are not doing all of this for your own personal gain.
not for personal gain, right?
Of course.
Isn't this still considered to be foolishness?
I understand that they partake in wrongful activities there for their own individual gain.
Why do they commit evil? And they do good? I'm saying in general, they do good for people. Here's the situation.
Can I ask something? About GDP, right? Without product, without addition. If everyone is earning, I understand, we are in communism. We all earn, but nothing is being produced. Products serve as the fundamental basis of the economy. The gross national product is currently not being generated. There are no mobile phones, no drinking mugs, and not even inexpensive trinkets. We can't just live on interest. Someone has to make or create things, but who will work? If everything stops one day, then there won't be a need to work.
Who will be the one to work?
The Chinese population will also begin purchasing.
In today's modern society, individuals work primarily for financial gain. In the future society, there will be alternative values in my perspective, just someone who possesses the knowledge to accomplish something.
If he wants, he can work for the communists.
How a person who knows something will be respected by others often sounds funny, but then it will be the main thing, only in what it observes, by the way. In closed societies like prisons, for instance, that's where there's no work. That's where there's respect from others. It's a very important factor. Extremely important. It will exist in this society. Just instead of money, there will be other criteria. That's all. Different categories. It's hard to imagine right now.
So he desired to make his way to his mine through the dense woods. He descended the entire 2 meters. He chopped some coal.
Do you think that it's necessary, in your opinion, should a person be directed like a slave with fines?
I believe that capitalism is the best system. Nothing better than capitalism has ever existed. It's not a perfect system, but no one has come up with anything better. To each, according to their abilities, and from each according to their needs.
Or is it possible that it could be the other way around?
To each by their work, that's it.
Sorry, here, people aren't working. He came, received 70% in a month, and he didn't do anything. That doesn't happen in the economy.
Once more, how can it not be the case with MMM around? How could it possibly not be? MMM is present. This situation demands careful consideration, not merely stating it's gone, as if it'll disappear into thin air.
Every pyramid scheme possesses an initial phase. We have a specific initial phase.
The tale of the white bull. What initial period? Why would people stop contributing money if everyone is getting paid? Explain to me. Why would they stop contributing money?
The number of gullible people is limited.
Why fools? Who is a fool?
The number of people driven by greed is endless. He was acting out of greed, you understand? Not solely on foolishness, but rather on avarice. He latches onto alternative motives. Essentially, I'm discussing desire and avarice at this moment. He exploits avarice. Everyone is greedy. And I agree with one thing. It's been proven long ago. Once a person receives something, they will always come back for a second time. And that is precisely it. He is already ensnared in it. He cannot cease, and he relies on that. Greed is fundamentally the central narrative there, and individuals are inherently avaricious, so to speak. Either you can manipulate a person with sex or with greed. I don't know with what else, because money and greed are the same thing.
Without greed, the desire to live simply and humanely is for regular folks. You're far from this, and it's tough for you to imagine how and what people live like. MMA provides the opportunity for ordinary people to live humanely, and you call that greed. It's actually immoral.
It is considered unethical to receive financial compensation without actually performing any work.
Society is pretty immoral. Sure, you should work, but in a normal society. Today, who do you work for? Do you work for society?
On the capitalists.
For capitalists.
Or on the government, what can you do?
The oligarchs. What actions can you take? Up until this point, it has been like this, but now it will be different. That's all. How many entrances do we possess in this location?
Just one.
What would occur if we all suddenly rushed toward the exit at this moment? This situation cannot be without a valid reason. It's similar in any financial framework. You know, just like with Sir Isaac Newton?
He owned a cat, so he crafted a door specifically for it. Eventually, the cat had 5 kittens, and he constructed 5 smaller doors adjacent to it. That's quite foolish. A single door suffices. In a similar manner, a pyramid functions.
Since everything... Oops, I've already made quite a bit, so it's time to correct it.
You know, I'll give another example. Every system has safety rules. When you're in a boat, if everyone moves to one side, the boat will tip over, so don't act foolishly. Just behave sensibly, and that's all.
Depart, navigate. Farewell, Kostya, this is becoming rather wearisome. Do you even consider yourself to be a business person?
No?
Are you an entrepreneur? We are with an entrepreneur.
Don't ask all these questions. Well, aren't you an entrepreneur? Let's be an entrepreneur. Messiah. Messiah entrepreneur. How many years have you been doing this?
He's now Russia's savior.
How many years? You are the sole individual.
By the way, we already have a program. Have you seen any of our shows, by the way?
No, to be completely honest, I have not seen it. That is quite a shame.
It's structured in such a way that the guest shares, well, at least roughly. In your case, it's not very relevant because everyone saw it in the movie. But still, can you briefly tell us, were you born in Moscow or where was it?
I took something.
Certainly, I pursued my education at a local school in Moscow.
Well, I finished regular school, was born in an ordinary family. My father is an installer, and my mother is a homemaker.
In Moscow.
Yes, in Moscow.
In a particular district of Moscow?
At the Sana, on Frunze, near Sportivnaya, close to the Novodevichi convent. You know it?
It's nice.
Novodevichi convent. You know, there's a house across from it. I lived there my whole life, until I was 18. At 18, I moved to the conservatory.
There's an ad hanging there now?
Some organization. It was previously known as Danola. Yes. Then I eventually enrolled in the institute. Then I enrolled myself. After the institute, there was an assignment. Worked for 2 years. Well, I couldn't work there, you know, at all. I had quite a career there. Well, just at a regular computing center. At a regular computing center. I worked as an ordinary programmer, although I made a career there. By Soviet standards, I became quite established. Seriously. Well, of course, not some big deal, but seriously. But I couldn't stay there. I felt, you know, many people missed the Soviet Union, how it was there, although I lived relatively well in the Soviet Union. In contemporary Russia, it revolves around incarceration, legal proceedings, and even banishment. Given these conditions, I would absolutely never wish to return to the Soviet Union, even in the most unfavorable scenario. It felt as though I was perpetually living in confinement. I resigned from my position and began engaging with video documentation. We had something dependable to rely on for our sustenance because I was unable to work.
Videos?
Indeed. 20 rubles per day? Yes, it generated a modest sum of money, but it wasn't particularly significant to me. Well, when cooperative started, I opened MMM actually, and then... In what?
Was your first business included?
Trading computers was quite common during that period. Additionally, it was my area of expertise, so in a certain sense.
It was just... Oh yes, you also traded electronics. Yes, we did. We traded electronics in St. Petersburg. MMM also traded, and various others.
Televisions. Subsequently, indeed, initially computers.
Then later, the party traded, you could say, yes.
Do you talk with entrepreneurs?
I have never engaged in conversation with anyone at all, and I don't possess any acquaintances whatsoever.
Ah, where is your place of residence?
In Moscow? Yes, in an apartment there. I have one, but it's not privatized, so they took it. If it were, they'd have taken it anyway.
Oh, what car did you come in? I didn't see.
My friend brought me. I don't have a car. They would have taken everything from me right away.
And this educator, he eventually found himself sitting in the neighboring room. Is he a security officer? An assistant, so to speak.
An assistant. Someone who's been with me since '94. Understand?
Wasn't he the one walking around in the movie? Oh, you haven't seen the movie.
Why does he choose not to decline to remain?
Well, I'm not entirely certain. He was simply present. I've experienced quite a significant number of trials throughout my life. As I've already mentioned, every individual has their own melting point. Each person possesses their own.
Were you not promoted in prison?
I actually shared a cell with 5 thieves-in-law, which is indeed quite an impressive record. Were you treated with the respect that you truly deserved? One thief even referred to me as a friend, which is quite remarkable. Another one, it appeared to be Sergey, who had served a lengthy 35 years there. If you enter any cell and say you know a certain person, then ask to pass on that any trouble has been delivered to this person. He will assess it when it's left for him. It's like a whole carte blanche, really.
That is genuinely remarkably impressive.
Why can't one be a thief in law if there's no specific article for it?
There are very few thieves in law. Literally, only about 500 people of all nationalities are thieves in law across the entire CIS. So reaching him is like, not even like reaching Putin. I don't even know who. I just sat in the special block, and they keep them there. That's the reason I served time under +5. However, if you were just a regular prisoner, well, I wouldn't wish that upon anyone, so that you could end up spending your entire life there.
These thieves in law are also a Soviet relic. It's nonsense. And Saakashvili in Azerbaijan shut it down in a minute. It's simply the will of the authorities. If Putin wanted, this term could be eradicated tomorrow, in my opinion. And this whole topic should be closed altogether. Saakashvili was indeed correct. A thief in law promptly receives how many? 10 years. Merely for declaring he is a thief in law, we would instantly enforce the article. It's a Soviet leftover, much like all that association with the Soviet history. What sort of thief in law? Nowhere else in the world are there thieves in law. We made up thief in law. What is it? A thief is just a thief. He consistently operates beyond the boundaries of the law. A thief exists outside the legal framework. That's my perspective.
That isn't entirely accurate. If you find yourself incarcerated once more, heaven forbid indeed. Let's envision a prison scenario. What exactly are thieves? Thieves are people who challenge authorities, possibly preventing chaos in a prison setting. What might happen if there were no thieves?
From the perspective of the guards?
No. From the prisoners themselves. We've ended up in a cell. There are 2 hooligans or some kind of bandits there, and they start terrorizing the entire cell. The prison guards appear to be completely indifferent. They do not engage themselves with anything occurring within the confines of the cell.
How is this resolved in the global system?
I don't know. In the global system, like in Germany, honestly, I don't know. The state probably monitors all this more closely. Here, no one monitors anything.
So what will be happening in the cells?
Yes, absolutely. What is going to transpire there is simply a kind of horror.
They have set certain rules.
This mechanism, really. All these ideas, they're basically the same rules as outside, just tweaked for prison. Think about it. If you, say, end up in prison, and you stabilize the cell, people eventually leave, and it becomes known quickly because people have visits, they cross paths. It's impossible to keep it a secret. Sooner or later, you're transferred to another cell. And they ask you, so friend, is that you there? You see, that's what everything relies on. If it weren't for this, what other mechanism would there be? I can't even imagine. If we didn't have this in our prisons, things would be absolutely chaotic.
It seemed to me that these were purely Soviet inventions, Vladimir, where they were somehow in collusion, so to speak, with the sports elite. At one time, yes, economically, and so on and so on and so on. Well, something like that, well, the film Thief in Law at least interpreted it that way.
No, all these movies are complete fairy tales. You see, fairy tales are written like pyramid schemes, created by people who just made up all these things. This thieves' institution is very closed. To obtain any detailed information regarding what is transpiring there is nearly impossible. It must be a truly unique circumstance, similar to mine, where I found myself in that particular... I ended up at this special facility and crossed paths with several thieves. My personality, as such, excluded the possibility that I would snitch or write any reports. Therefore, they were open with me and talked about things. They wouldn't be open or talk with anyone else. It's a completely closed institution that practically no one knows anything about. Who are the thieves?
Could you tell me, they're writing here, I'm curious, what is the current amount of money in the pyramid? Question mark.
The average contribution is now $1,000. Totaling $20 million. However, the rate tends to rise. People keep offering to invest $1 million. They ask for permission, but I reluctantly allow $1 million.
Is the system not covered by insurance anymore?
Certainly we conduct a thorough and comprehensive assessment of your discount.
Well, $1,000 is typically the average contribution, so multiply that by all 20 million participants.
It appears to be quite substantial, considering that 20 million participants amounts to 20 billion, or rather, precisely 20 billion.
Well, 20 isn't that much.
Has Minister Silwanov still not made any attempt to reach out to you yet?
Why not?
In 1994, you controlled 40% of the nation's cash. At least 30%? That's impressive. Every third ruble was printed.
Initially, when I issued tickets MMM,
Did you really have all that in trainloads?
Sure.
there were tickets when MMM was around. I issued them. At first, I just wanted to steal dollars.
In the movie, someone says, "Give me 5 train cars of money, not millions or billions. Just 5 train cars," and the other person says, "Take it. I can't keep up."
Yes, they were there, money lying around. Money was in rooms and they couldn't count it quickly enough. You could just walk in, no security. And take as much money as you desire. An employee enters quietly, ensuring not to attract too much attention. Because I perceived it as a guest of Lothar, managing it becomes even more complex. You need to bring in security that will only pilfer by the trainload. It'll steal centrally. To fight it, bring in another security team and so on. Let it happen like that anyway.
I understood that. No, I think it made economic sense.
You appear to be quite an aficionado of such diabolical scenarios, do you not?
What is the largest sum of personal cash you have ever witnessed being stacked up? Any particular amount that stands out?
I have never visited the office, so I am not certain. I initially began relocating my apartment.
In terms of dollars, it was likely around 2 to 3 billion in cash, correct?
Of course, there probably was. In reality, no one genuinely comprehends the immense quantities involved. Currency is essentially just paper. Why do you hold it in such high regard?
If I left with $2 billion in cash for 3 words,
Like it.
А вас начнет говорить, вот в этом большие цифры, вам это нравится, вы тщеславный человек.
What do you like about what they say about you? No, actually, I'm a very confused person. I don't like all this talking with us. We talked, but no. I believe that in the interest of the system, I must do this. That is, it benefits the system, so I bring everyone in for interviews in all these matters.
you see, politicians will feel the pressure later. After all, a big one in how many years? In 6 years, there will be elections. In 6 years, it will be a big deal. So Mavrodi said it, and everyone voted. Will Putin come to talk then?
Well, it seems you're a supporter, and then they voted. What? In 6 years, there won't be anything. Who's counting? Everything is given 42 months, 30 and a half years, as per the Bible. The power over us lasts for 42 months.
By the way, it mentions there, you didn't really get the 42 months. We escaped from what?
About the apocalypse. The authority over us lasts for 42 months. By the way, there's an interesting phrase that no one understands in the apocalypse. It goes as if it's about the end of the world, and suddenly there's such an unexpected phrase. And he will ensure that no individual can purchase or sell unless they possess the name of the beast, or the numerical representation of the beast's name. That's Femiad Mavra. In other words, to elaborate further, M is recognized as the 14th letter of the entire alphabet. MMM equals 42. So, there you have it. Squids, telepoplunu.
I'll save. I was born on December 25th, like Jesus Christ, because I will be the Savior, I will save from you. Eventually, everyone will come to their senses and bring it to RKS at 11%. I think you understand that carrying MMM is nonsense.
I believe you also fulfill a somewhat beneficial role because, in a specific manner, you instill a sense of discipline in individuals for their excessive greediness and lack of wisdom.
I'm not punishing anyone. I provide payments ranging from 20 to 75% each month. Can you finally comprehend that? How could that possibly be considered a punishment? Individuals write letters, eagerly seeking a share, and I'm overwhelmed on my end. And you claim that I'm punishing. I really don't understand that at all. Here I am, in any case, doing good deeds for people right now.
Now,
Exactly. I do good, I help in general. Why does everyone perceive it as something temporary, unfortunately?
sadly temporary.
Brief relief.
Why call it eternity? That's just your speculation about time. Right now, I'm helping people and doing good deeds.
Let's place a wager of $100,000 that the pyramids will not be standing in existence in a year's time.
A year ago, by the way, all the experts, if you recall, were asserting that this would never commence, that it was utterly impossible, that he wouldn't pay anyone a single dime. Well, a year has now passed, 20 million participants have joined, and throughout the entire year, everyone has indeed been paid. So you will surely lose, but I don't possess any money. Well, that's not good, on credit.
Why should I contemplate considering taking it? I am not even entirely certain about what to inquire.
What is your primary source of livelihood?
What do you mean by that? I simply instructed an intermediary, directing him to secure employment for me. I receive a salary of $1,000. I allocate $100 to the authorities because all my information is meticulously documented, ensuring I avoid any legal complications. I subsist on $500. I hold them in high regard.
And for us, Sergey Panteleyevich, the majority of our audience members, let's say, range from approximately 300,000, like when Ksenia Sobchak or Sergey Matvenko, even reaching 400,000, the governor's son, is viewed, to 50,000. However, on average, it's predominantly young individuals who watch us, quite a significant number, who are interested in this because the objective of our mission is to encourage entrepreneurship, to advocate not pursuing employment for a salary, but rather to work independently for oneself, correct? This is the main goal of the program, and therefore, as a rule, we ask such questions, and at the end of the program, we ask our guests to speak directly to the camera and say something to the person who is unsure whether to start their own business, go into business, or get a job. I am also apprehensive about contemplating what you might express to him.
Join MMM without delay, and happiness will undoubtedly be yours. Do not trust the media. Everyone receives payments ranging from 20 to 75% monthly. Secure the money, and then you can initiate a business venture or pursue anything you desire with it, but first, secure the money. So this is an entirely genuine, straightforward strategy, as authentic as it can possibly be. Therefore, here is my recommendation for you.
To prevent the program Business Secrets from being accused of any bias that Sergey Panteleyevich and Mavrodi compensated us financially, I still wish to conclude the broadcast by stating, do not even consider giving your money to MM. Only individuals lacking wisdom give their money to MM. I sincerely hope that sensible individuals are watching our broadcasts. We intended to dissect here. As a distinguished creator of human souls, I endeavored to thoroughly analyze Sergey Panteleyevich. He is an exceptionally intriguing personality, and I found myself genuinely appreciating him. Naturally, we are aware that even Satan possesses a form of genius. It is said that Jack the Ripper was one of the most charming individuals during his lifetime. In this context, I affirm that he possesses charm, however. However, refrain from bringing your money. Indeed, do not even contemplate bringing your money.
Bring it at 11% per annum in the bank.
In the bank, any financial institution. However, it is preferable in a bank if you desire to save. And if you wish to multiply them, pursue your own endeavors. Thank you.